Welcome in, everybody. It's the Coach Matthew Mitchell Show, and I'm your host, Coach Matthew Mitchell. That's probably a pretty good name for the show if you name it after the host. Wouldn't it be funny if the host was another name? Or maybe it wouldn't be funny. Sometimes I'll try to bring a little humor to the show, and I don't think that was very humorous. But nevertheless, we're back with you another week, and we're so happy to continue in our series on navigating these emotional risks that we find that pop up in our leadership and pop up in our life. And after the past 4 years being out in corporate America and teaching different business leaders everything that I had learned as a college basketball coach, I noticed all of these emotional risks that people would encounter, that if they were not emotionally tied to the situation, they would behave differently. They would take action. And when we first started this series, Risk and Reward, Mastering Challenges in Leadership, it was because I noticed people taking actions when they are emotionally tied to a situation and making decisions that if they weren't, they would make different decisions and they would make better decisions. But sometimes when we're tied up in the emotions of our life, they can cloud our judgment. They can block us from good decision making. And that's what this series has been all about. At the very first, we talked about the common thread in the emotional risk that we encounter. There's a presence of uncertainty that makes us very uncomfortable, that makes us feel like we're in a situation of risk. There's risk that we process about potential negative outcomes in our decision making, our exposure to loss. So many times in a competitive situation, we may feel like we don't want to take a risk because we have something to lose. And so these difficult situations that our emotions put us in is what we've been dealing with the last few weeks. So in the previous installments of the series, we identified these risks that we feel are so based in our emotions. And so the technique we've been working through is when you start to feel you're in this situation that you feel like, I just feel like there's so much risk here that I don't want to take action. And I'm fearful. We're asking you to break it down, R.I.S.K. And this acronym of risk helps us now navigate the situation thoughtfully and effectively when we stop and break it down and think about it. So R, recognize the opportunity. I, identify consequences. S, strategize responsibly. K, keep grounded. And so that is how we have been navigating this series. And so R, recognize the opportunity. We talked about seeing all of the positives in the situation and all the opportunities we have instead of looking at all the negatives and that look like obstacles. Let's convert obstacles, that mindset negative, into a positive mindset of opportunity. So recognize right off the bat, what's my opportunity here? Last week, we were at I, identify consequences, where we talked about another shift from negative to positive. Instead of we're going to suffer consequences, we shifted to, instead of being fearful of the consequences and being based in fear, we want you to shift that. Identify consequences from where can I profit here? And so if I navigate these situations responsibly, dependably, consistently, I can view consequences which are just simply the result of an action I take. I can really start to believe in myself, and I can identify where I'm going to profit, what the consequences from my actions, how I'm going to profit, and that's based in the positive. So this week, we are going to dive into S, strategize responsibly. And before we get into this week's content, I want to remind you that the Coach Matthew Mitchell Show is brought to you by one of the top websites on the internet. I'm just telling you, you are going to love this website. It's coachmatthewmitchell.com. And if you will go to this top quality website on the internet, so that's where you have to access the website, is on the internet. You go to coachmatthewmitchell.com and you're going to find tons of resources there. We have a blog that you can get some leadership content from. You can access this podcast there. You can access all of our material, our assets, and you also can find out how our method, the winning tools, honesty, hard work, and discipline, can equip your team to make the right choices, the right decisions that lead you to growth and prosperity and really a life of excellence. You can find that all on coachmatthewmitchell.com. The show's also brought to you by the USA Today best-selling book, Ready to Win, How Great Leaders Succeed Through Preparation, written by Coach Matthew Mitchell. So that's available online anywhere books are sold, and that is a book on preparation that's making a difference in people's lives, making a difference in how they approach preparation, and preparation can powerfully position you to win, and everybody wants to win, and that's not the question. Do you want to win? The question is, are you ready to win? And you can get ready to win by purchasing that book. And that is what brings us to our content for this week, the S in our R.I.S.K acronym, Strategize Responsibly. Did you know, or do you know, that would be a better question, do you know the origin of the word strategy? Well, if you know that, pat yourself, stop right now and pat yourself, pause the podcast and pat yourself on the back, because you are ahead of the game if you know the root word. If you don't, if you were like me and you were curious, if you are curious, I found out the origin of the word strategy is strategos, which is Greek. And in the Greek, it means army leader. And so back in the ancient times, it was very important for the army leader to make great decisions and to have a plan and have a method to how they were going to defend themselves or go into battle. And so strategos was the army leader, which then morphed into our now modern day word strategy. And so when we are encountering the emotional risks that pop up in our emotions that prevent us and block us from taking action and block us from being effective, we need to learn how to strategize responsibly. And so what is a strategy? A strategy is simply a plan of action designed to achieve an overall aim. All right? So whatever you are trying to achieve in the big picture, you need a strategy. And then the word responsible is simply having an obligation to do something. And so when we strategize responsibly, we are giving ourselves a chance to devise a plan for us to move forward productively and profitably. All right? And so when we encounter these times of risk that are keeping us away from where we ultimately want to be, we need to strategize responsibly. My obligation as a leader is to make a plan that benefits the team and the people that I'm leading. But I want you to think about this. First of all, we need a plan before we can lead others. We need to lead ourselves effectively. I've heard this over and over in my leadership career. I'm not a leader. And I understand what people are saying there, but I try to get across to anyone that I'm coaching, whether it be in athletics, and I'm currently coaching college athletics at the University of Houston as the women's basketball coach. And so when I'm coaching the players at Houston, or when I've been coaching in business the past 4 years, or in my previous career as a college basketball coach, you would hear people say, I'm not a leader. Well, at the very minimum, what I want you to know is that we all have to lead ourselves. If we don't do a great job there, somebody else is going to lead us, and we don't have much control over how that person is going to lead us. What we do have control over is our attitude and our effort that we give toward leadership and leading ourselves. And so the obligation that you have is to make a plan that benefits you so you can show up as the best version of yourself. And so that requires you to strategize responsibly. It puts an obligation on you to do something and I want you to do something that profits you and does not punish you. All right? That's so very important. So the strategy that we deploy in our daily lives is so important. And when we start to do a great job there and we start to pay attention to ourselves and investing in ourselves, and I've taught this before. If you've listened to every episode of the podcast, here's a quick review for you. Or if this is the first time, I want to tell you, when we're thinking about a strategy for our life and leading ourselves well, there's 5 components of life that I want to pay attention to so I can show up as the best version of Coach Matthew Mitchell. And those 5 areas are my spirit, my emotions, my physical body, my professional competencies, and my fun in life, my leisure, and my ability to unplug and to enjoy something that gives me a chance to unwind. So those 5 areas are critical for me to invest in and to grow in and to pay attention to. And when I am solid in those 5 areas, and I'm investing in those 5 areas of my life, then I can show up as the best version of me, which now allows me to give my gifts and present my gifts and my contribution to the team. And it also allows me to receive the contribution of others on the team. Once I have invested in myself, now we can fulfill our obligation as leaders to make a plan that benefits our people. The people that we are leading are going to benefit when we strategize responsibly. So here are 3 questions I want you to ask yourself and answer when it comes to strategizing responsibly. Is the plan aspirationally realistic? Question number 1. Question number 2, does the plan use our resources effectively? Question number 3, is the plan easily understandable? So these 3 questions, when asked and answered, will allow you to make a plan that benefits you and your people and has you moving toward your goal, moving toward your objective, moving toward your success. And these 3 questions are so key to you being able to strategize responsibly. So number 1, the question, is the plan aspirationally realistic? And you're saying, what in the world? What does that mean? I've never even heard that. Well, the reason you haven't heard that is because I just made it up. I just made it up I didn't make it up. I put the words together. But let me explain to you what being aspirationally realistic is. So what I want you to consider is always what is possible, but always with a little, with a bit of eye on the impossible, because the impossible helps us strive, helps us to aspire to go further than what's possible. And there's always, coaching athletics for all this time, there's this limitation that a human being will put on themselves, that only a coach or someone else can bring that out of you, because so many times we're trying to just, in our primitive brain, we're trying to just survive. When you go back to the beginning, we're just trying to survive. And so what a coach can do and what a team environment can do is other people, the coach, my teammates, they can push us a little bit further than what we would comfortably go. They get us out of our comfort zone, and they help us start moving to what we think is impossible, and they help us to aspire to a greater height than maybe we can think of currently in our brain. So I don't want you to live in impossibilities. I don't want you to live in a fantasy world. But I also don't want you just rooted in settling for just what's the bare minimum and let me just check off the box. So aspirationally realistic. What can we accomplish? And then what would that extra gear, where would that extra gear get us? That's aspirationally realistic. And there's 3 things that you have to consider when you're trying to make a plan on what can you realistically aspire to be. So the example is this. I've taken over the program at the University of Houston. And the reason that I'm there is to boost the program to a different level than it currently sits. And the level it's on now is pretty low. The team finished last in their conference, the Big 12 conference, which is one of the Power 4 conferences in collegiate sports, the highest level of collegiate sports in America, NCAA Division I, Power 4, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC. Those are the 4 Power 4 conferences. So our conference, the Big 12, Houston, we finished last year. So I'm there to change that. That is why I've been hired. That is what I'm tasked with. So what is aspirationally realistic? Let me explain to you. So we will be a brand new team, brand new coach. I've never coached these players. I really like the players that we've put together on our team, really like them as people. Don't know much about them as players other than I've been able to watch them on video and observe them, and I can evaluate what I see there. I'm a trained professional and have done it for many, many years at a very high level. And so I have an idea of what we're putting together, and obviously I wanted them to be there or they wouldn't be there. So I'm going in with a belief in them of what they're capable of. I won't know what they're capable of until we actually get on the floor. So what do I do and how do I aspire but be realistic about what we can accomplish? And then what's the next level for us to do? So here's how I'll do that. I will first evaluate their talent. And so what is talent? Talent is this naturally God-given gift that I didn't do anything for. I showed up on this earth and I had this talent. Now, there have been people who have complimented some of my talents that I didn't really do anything for. So the episode could also be, we said the episode was sponsored by CoachMatthewMitchell.com. The episode could also be sponsored by CoachMitchellBand.com. Is that the name of the website? It's CoachMitchellBand.com, I believe. CoachMitchellBand.com. Now, that's where you could hear my talent of singing. Now, some people have said that I have talent for singing. And some people show up and listen to me sing, and they think it's talented. Now, that's varying degrees of they judge that, and sometimes it depends on what they're serving at the bar and whether they at the place that we are, whether they think that I'm ultra talented or just mildly talented. But the point is, I can carry a tune in a bucket. I've got some talent of singing. Now, do I have Taylor Swift talent? I do not. The Coach Mitchell Band's very popular, but we are not selling it. There's no Eras tour for Coach Mitchell Band, and there was for Taylor Swift. She has mega talent, vocal talent, like Adele. Can I sing like Adele? I cannot. But I have some talent. So what can I realistically accomplish as a singer? That I didn't do anything for whatever level of talent I have as a singer. I was given that talent. All right. So as I really got off a tangent there on the singing, but let's get back focused here, folks. Let's get back focused. The talent will be, what are the natural gifts of the team? Because that's very important for me to assess as we start to strategize and make a strategy, and I'm responsible for a good strategy. We have to strategize responsibly. So I have to evaluate the talent and to see what are we capable of from a talent standpoint. Then the second thing I'm going to look at is, what is our skill level as basketball players? So what are basketball skills? You have dribbling. You have to pass the basketball back and forth, pass to one of your teammates. She passes it back to you. You're passing it to hopefully help her get in position to score. And so passing's a skill that's very important in basketball. The skill that most people probably identify would be shooting. That's the number one rule of Dr. James Naismith, who created the game. Nailed a peach basket up on the wall in a gymnasium because they couldn't go outside in the wintertime. And so basketball was born. Get the ball in the peach basket. Shooting is a very important skill that you need to have. And then you have defensive footwork. So there's skill. It's a game. It's a highly skilled game. All right. So then I have to evaluate what is our skill level and what is the room for growth there. And so what is my strategy going to be to increase their skill? And this is one thing that as leaders, we can impact. I'm telling you now, I am confident because I have a track record on this, but if you were able to come to our first practice and observe the team, and then you came back and you somehow were able to file that away, and you had let's say you had a snapshot picture of where we were, our skill level, when you saw us put the team through some skill work, and then you came to the last practice of the season, you're going to see growth in their skill because we have a strategy, we have a plan, and their skill is going to increase. And you as a leader, you need to figure out when you're strategizing responsibly, what is the current skill level and how far can I advance them? That's going to help me plan aspirationally realistic their skill level. You have to assess that. And then what is their current energy level? And so teams are very different. Sometimes you have a very energetic group and sometimes you don't have an energetic group. And so it's the impact the leader can do is the environment. Is I have to go in as their coach and I have to create an environment that honors high energy and positive energy and productive energy. And that will be honored and that will be praised and that will be valued, and low energy will be called out and will not be accepted. And so that's what you can do as far as creating the atmosphere and the environment. And then the energy, that's up to the individual, but as leaders we need to do everything we can to create an environment that people can connect to their highest energy level. And so when I assess the talent, the skill, the energy of the team, over time, it will become clear of what do I think we can accomplish realistically, and then let's aspire to find, through honesty, hard work, and discipline, the winning tools. Let's find out what's that next level we can get to. So what can we aspire to be? So the first step in you strategizing responsibly is your plan aspirationally realistic? Number 2, does the plan use our resources effectively? All right. And I'm going to borrow this from the faith world that I've heard. What are our resources? We have 3 resources. How much time do we have? How much talent do we have? How much treasure do we have, or financial resources? So as you're looking at your team, are you using those resources effectively? Now, how do I use my time effectively? I have to prepare. I have to be prepared, and I have to take preparation and make it a cornerstone of our strategy. So using time effectively, this is the way you answer this question. Are you using your resources effectively? How is your plan? Are you highly organized? Are you planned out? Do you have every step of the way mapped out? Do you have benchmarks? Do you have landmarks? Do you have deadlines? Do you have any of these methods that you can use to make sure your time, that very precious resource, you only have a certain amount of time to get the job done. In college basketball, once the season gets going, we have 20 hours in the week that we can devote to everything we need to do on the basketball court to get ready. So that's weightlifting, that's running or conditioning, we call it, that's skill development, and then that's team strategy, and all of those things have to be done in that amount of time, 20 hours. And so if we just roll into the week with no plan, there's a great chance, it's almost a certainty, that we're not going to use our time effectively. So that's the number one resource that you have to answer this question. Are you using your resources effectively? How are you using your time? Talent. As the leader, have you evaluated your talent properly? Do you have the right people on the right projects? Or do you just go in and say, just assign people tasks because That's just where you want that person to be, and that's their title, or that's their, what I hired them to do, or what they're supposed to be doing. And so a real trap we can fall into is failing to assess our talent properly and then deploying the talent where they can be most effective. So I've told you this 100 times probably. No, not 100. We've only done, I think this is 40 episodes or something, so it's not been, but maybe 40 times or maybe less than 40. But here's the point. I'm going to tell you this again. If they hired me, so I just got this job in Houston, University of Houston, the head women's basketball coach. Well, another job that I could have gotten hired for in Houston is out at NASA. All right. And they're shooting rockets up into the sky, and they got satellites going, and they're putting astronauts in the space station, all this stuff. They could have hired me out there at NASA, and I could have been put in charge of flight operations. And I would have given a rousing speech the first day I was on the job and told them that we were going to use honesty, hard work, and discipline, and we were going to get it done. And we were going to shoot some rockets into the air, and it was going to be the best era. It was going to be a golden age of NASA under my leadership. And we were going to have the best flight operations possible. And then that speech, I probably could have milked that out to maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then the rest of the day would have gone poorly. I'm just going to tell you, because I have no talent. I have no talent around engineering. I have no talent, no struggle in all the things that make you an aeronautical engineer. I have very little talent in that area. And so that would be a very poor use of my talent to put me in that role. Now, I have some talent as a connector, as a motivator, as a inspirational figure. God gave me some talent around that, and it's been very useful as a coach and a speaker and as a leader. That talent's been very, very useful. So I am deploying my talents. I'm using my resources, my talent resource, very effectively as the head coach at Houston. And so now my job to strategize responsibly is to make sure that I use the talent on the team effectively. We became known at the University of Kentucky, my last coaching job, for a certain style of play that's very up-tempo, it's very fast, very exciting way to play basketball, and it's very exciting to watch a team play that way. And I like to coach that way. But if I look and our talent is not built for that, who we have on the team, then if I go out and just because that's the way I want to operate, but I'm not adjusting to the talent that I have, I'm not strategizing responsibly. I'm not making a good use of my talent. So I have to deploy that resource effectively. So that's on you as the leader. You have to evaluate the talent, and then you have to deploy it properly and most productively. And then the last is, what's your budget? What budget do you have? How are you managing the treasure you have in your business or your organization? And so what is your budget? Are you deploying your financial assets and your financial resources? Are you using them effectively? And so that takes a tremendous amount of attention you need to pay to that. And as the leader, you have to make sure that that's getting done. And so your 3 resources that I want you to think about, are you using them effectively? Time, talent, treasure. I want you to be able to answer, does the plan use our resources effectively? That's how you break that down, and that's how you answer yes. Third and final question that we ask ourselves to make sure we're on track to strategize responsibly is the plan easily understandable? Does everybody understand what we're doing? Does everybody understand the plan? You're the leader. You know the plan. You have to get the plan distributed to the team. They have to understand what we're doing. This is very important. And so the plan, and listen, there's a lot of complexity to life. There's a lot of complexity to business. There's a lot of complexity to achievement. But what your job is to break that down into understandable terms that people can get on board with. And so as I put this team together at Houston, I want everybody to know 3 things to make the plan understandable. What are we doing? How are we doing it? What is the payoff? So let's break this formula down for, is the plan easily understandable? What are we doing? From a basketball standpoint for the new team here at Houston, What are we doing? We're playing basketball. We're competing in the Big 12. What we are doing is we are striving for excellence. What does that mean? We are comparing ourselves to no one, and we're going to be the very best we can be. So what we're doing, we're not trying to be the best or number one next year. We will love for number one to happen when we find out our excellence that we possess, what we want to do our best as a basketball team. That's what we're doing. And so the competition will not be the other member teams in the Big 12. The competition is what is our best at Houston for the 25-26 season. That's what we're doing. We're searching for that. We're seeking that. We're chasing that every day, our best. Do you understand that, listener? Can you understand that? I think that's easily understandable because it's well defined. That's what we're doing. How are we doing it? How are we doing it? We are doing it. It's rooted in the winning tools. We're going to do it with honesty, hard work, and discipline. That's how we are going to chase what we're doing. That's how we're going to accomplish being our best. How we're doing that is honesty, hard work, discipline. We're rooted in our principles. We're living that every day. Those are not slogans up on the wall. Those are what we're going to live. That's how we're going to do it. And what is the payoff? The payoff is going to be all of the lessons that we learn that help us be stronger for the experience. And so the lessons that this team learns, and this is the only time this team will ever be together, 2025-26 season, this team will never be in its same form ever again. And so the payoff is, what lessons can you learn from day one when we get together and I tell them the plan? The payoff is going to be the improvement you make, the lessons you learn, the relationships you build, the challenges that you overcome and face with courage and strength, and then the victories that you experience and the highs of coming together as a team and accomplishing more together than you could have ever accomplished on your own. That's the payoff. So that plan's easily understandable. And there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of complexity that goes into all those things. And we'll also have a plan for academics, and we'll have a plan for community service. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on, but I will be able to communicate the plan, and it will be understandable. And that's very key to you strategizing responsibly. So when this risk shows up that has you rooted in fear, this emotional risk shows up in your life and in your leadership, and you're overwhelmed with this fear, and you are thinking, I can't do this, or I'm blocked of doing this, or I'm prevented of doing this, or I'm going to avoid doing this, or I'm going to delay doing this, or I'm just going to completely detach from this situation so I don't have to deal with it because this risk has shown up. This is the part in the acronym, the S of R.I.S.K, Strategize Responsibly. This is going to put you in a powerful spot because you have control over the effort and the attitude you approach strategizing. And so when you strategize responsibly, you ask yourself these three questions. Is it aspirationally realistic? Does the plan use our resources effectively? Is the plan easily understandable? And I'm just telling you, friend, you can get this done. You can do this. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know where the risk is showing up that has you blocked. But this right here, this is the way through it. This is the way forward. And so I want you to embrace, and just like we started the episode, Strategos, Army General, that Army General going into battle, that was people's lives on the line, life and death. And so their strategy, they needed to strategize responsibly. And so listen, your future is on the line here. Your future success, your future achievement, your future excellence, it's on the line here. And my goodness, if you're leading people, their future success, their future productivity, their future advancement, their future excellence, that's on the line. And so you can definitely get this part of the acronym done, Strategize Responsibly. Go to CoachMatthewMitchell.com and see everything we're doing there, speaking, training, leadership resources, it's all there to help your business move forward. It's tools that will effectively help you build excellence in your organization. And that's what we are on a quest to help you with. So CoachMatthewMitchell.com, Ready to Win book is available everywhere online where you purchase books. That can help you with your preparation. Follow us on social media, Coach Matthew Mitchell, on those platforms. If you have not subscribed to this podcast, I would invite you to do that now, and that would be a great way to support us. And just keep showing up. Every single Wednesday we come to you. And so as we move through this series, Risk and Reward, Mastering Challenges in Leadership, we've taken you through the first 3 letters of the acronym R.I.S.K, recognize the opportunity, identify consequences. This week, strategize responsibly. Next week, we're going to head into the letter K. So I want you to make sure that you are deploying all of these techniques in your leadership, and you're going to be able to move forward in an explosive and powerful way. So thanks so much for joining us. Keep doing the work. We'll see you right back here next week, and can't wait to see you. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week.